Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name's Darius, and I want to talk about something that I think doesn't get enough attention in relationships. How someone truly feels about you when you're not in the room to hear it. That's the real test, right? It's easy to be kind, affectionate, or loyal when someone's watching, but the truth always comes out when they think you're not around. The way I see it now, one of the most important things anyone should figure out early in a relationship is this. Who are you to your partner when you're not there to influence their behavior? Are you their person, or just a placeholder? Because, I'm telling you, the way they talk about you in private, when they're with friends or relaxed, speaks louder than any "I love you" they say to your face. I'm not here to play victim or get sympathy. I'm just being real. Because the truth is, if I hadn't been watching anonymously that night, I'd still be living in a lie. I'd still be engaged to someone who, deep down, didn't see me as part of her forever. I wouldn't have known I was just convenient. This story isn't necessarily about revenge. It's about waking up. And I hope by the time we reach the end, it'll help someone out there wake up, too. Let me take you back to where it all started. It began at a wedding between two mutual friends. I was one of the best men. She, Kayla, was one of the bridesmaids. Now, I've been to enough weddings to know how things usually go. You dress up, smile for pictures, give your toast if you have to, and go home. But this time, something different happened. The moment I saw Kayla walk into the hall in that dark green bridesmaid dress, I swear I forgot where I was for a second. She looked like someone you'd notice even if the whole world was on fire. We didn't talk immediately. There were the usual wedding activities, photos, speeches, dances, but somewhere around the reception, our paths crossed properly. Our first conversation was easy. Before the wedding wrapped up, I asked for her number. She gave it with no hesitation. From there, things just flowed. Over the next few weeks, we stayed in touch. At first it was a few texts here and there, funny memes, "How's your day?" type stuff. But then it grew. The texts became daily. The calls got longer. Soon it was every night, laughing on the phone until one of us passed out mid-conversation. Now, here's the part one have to admit. I knew she was in a relationship. She didn't hide it. I wasn't proud of the fact that I was getting close to someone who was technically taken, but I didn't push her. I never asked her to choose. She knew I cared. I didn't have to say it outright back then. Eventually, she broke up with the guy. I didn't know the full details, and I didn't ask. All I knew was that the space between us suddenly felt different. A few months after that, I finally told her how I felt. And to my surprise, she smiled and told me the feeling was mutual. We started dating not long after that. To me, Kayla was the one. The kind of person you imagine building a life with. I was already seeing a future. She was someone I was preparing to love permanently. At the time, I truly believed she felt the same. A year had passed since Kayla and I started dating, and to be honest, it felt like everything was going perfectly. Sure, we had our disagreements here and there, but they were small. We'd talk it out, find some common ground, and move on. We clicked on so many levels. It was enough to make me think we were invincible. I honestly thought we were on the same page about everything, and that there was nothing that could shake us. I was convinced we were as strong as a couple could be. So, I decided to take a big step. I planned a surprise proposal for Kayla. I wanted it to be intimate, personal. I had been nervous leading up to it, but when the moment came and I dropped to one knee, I looked up at her and saw tears welling up in her eyes. When she said yes, it felt like everything clicked into place. In that moment, I truly believed we had something unbreakable. I was ready to spend the rest of my life with her, and I was sure she felt the same way. It was one of the happiest moments of my life, one of those rare times when everything feels right. It felt like no one or nothing could break the bond we had. But, as it turns out, I was wrong. I couldn't see it then, but the cracks were already starting to form. One evening, Kayla texted me, telling me she was going out for a girls' night with some of her friends I knew well. Honestly, it didn't bother me. I remember texting back, "Cool. Have fun." As for me, I didn't have anything planned for the night. It had been a long week, and I was looking forward to just kicking back and relaxing. So I stayed home. I pulled out a few old books from the shelf, ones I had read before. I wasn't expecting anything exciting, just something to pass the time. But after a few hours of flipping through pages, I started getting bored. I wasn't really in the mood for reading anymore. That's when I decided to go online, just to see what was happening. But I wasn't about to use my real account for this. I had a fake Instagram account for situations like this. Just a way to scroll without being traced. Now here's why I had this account. I work at a company where everything you do online gets watched. It's not even about just keeping things professional. It's about avoiding any potential drama or controversy that could get you in trouble. Even a simple comment on a post could be flagged, especially if it's something that's seen as inappropriate or controversial. And believe me, you don't want to find yourself on the wrong side of your employer because of something as dumb as leaving a comment on a trending topic. So, I created this fake account. It was completely private. No one knew it was mine. I didn't follow anyone I knew personally, not even Kayla. The last thing I wanted was for her to see that account. But I'd used it a couple of times to peek at her page, just to see what she was posting, like any curious boyfriend would do. I didn't think anything of it at the time. It was just a harmless way to kill some time while Kayla was out with her friends. But that night, I had no idea that it would change everything. As I scrolled through my feed, the algorithm served me a post from Kayla. I knew her account well, but I wasn't planning on engaging with it. Just out of curiosity, I clicked and saw she was live. Right then, in that moment, I wasn't really sure what to expect. But I opened the live stream anyway. And there they were, Kayla and 4 of her friends, all hanging out. The vibe was super chill. They were sipping drinks and laughing. Music was playing in the background, something light and catchy. It was like I was right there with them, laughing, listening, like I was part of the group. But then, as the drinks started to take their toll, the conversation loosened up. You know how it is, when people start talking without thinking, just letting whatever comes to mind slip out. They were joking around, getting louder, and it almost felt like they weren't really holding back. Everything was casual, but there was a sense of freedom in it. Then, right in the middle of a chatter, I saw a comment pop up. I didn't catch who it was from. It was a simple question. Do you love your fiancé? For a moment, I thought maybe it was just a throwaway question. But when I saw Kayla's face, I was interested to hear her response. She paused for just a second, like she was deciding how to answer. Then, with that same casual smirk she always has when she's being playful, she said, "He's convenient. Not forever." Her friends laughed so hard, like it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. One of them even raised her glass and said, "Girl, you're savage." In that instant, everything I thought I knew about us shattered. I couldn't even react or comment. I didn't try to call her out or even give myself away. I just closed the app. I didn't even know how to process it. I sat in my room in silence, not able to stop the thoughts racing in my mind. Did she really just say that? Did she mean it? What does it even say about me? I was just trying to keep myself together. That night was a miserable one. I don't even know how I managed to get through it. I couldn't sleep and I couldn't focus. I woke up the next morning to my phone buzzing with notifications. The first thing I saw were 2 messages from Kayla, one from the night before and another from the morning. The first one was a good night text, the kind she would always send before bed. It read, "Good night, babe, love you too, Heartsta." Those words in any other situation would have been comforting, but not today. It felt different. I stared at it for a second before putting the phone down, trying to push back the feeling that was creeping in. Then, just a few hours later, the next message came through. "Good morning. Hope you slept well." Her words were casual and sweet, just like any other morning. Normally, I would have smiled at her message and sent a reply, or maybe even called her to hear her voice. But not today. I couldn't. I wasn't ready to respond yet. I left both messages unread and went about my morning, though it was hard to focus on anything. After a while, more messages came through. "Hey, are you okay?" Then another more urgent, "Darius." And then, "Please answer me." I couldn't bring myself to reply. I didn't want to deal with the reality of what I'd seen the night before. So I ignored it. Then, the pace picked up. Her texts came faster, harder, like she was panicking. Darius, please, I need to hear from you. What's going on? Why are you ignoring me? It was clear she was getting desperate. She started calling me, texting nonstop, and FaceTiming me again and again. And each time I just let it ring out. I didn't pick up. I didn't reply. By the time noon rolled around, I was barely even aware of the hours passing. That's when I heard the doorbell. I went to the door, but instead of opening it, I just went to the peephole and looked out. There she was, standing there. I just stood there for a few seconds, my hand resting on the doorknob but not turning it. Then I spoke. My voice wasn't even angry, just flat. Go be with who you have forever plans with. There was a long silence on the other side of the door. I could almost feel her process what I said. She probably didn't think I had seen what she said during the girls' night. But I did. And now everything had changed. Then came the begging. Please, open the door. I didn't mean it like that, she said, her voice cracking a little. She was trying to sound calm. It was a joke. Please, let's talk. I could hear the desperation in her voice, but there was no way for me to just ignore what I'd heard. I'm done, I muttered under my breath, though I didn't speak aloud. I wasn't ready for this conversation. Not yet. She kept talking, though. Please, I love you. I swear I didn't mean it. I wasn't serious, Darius. Her voice cracked. She was crying, and I could hear her through the door. Then she started yelling my name. Darius, please. Please open the door. She was frantic now, each word sounding more desperate than the last as tears streamed down her face. By now, our neighbors had started peeking out their windows. Some of them were recording on their phones, capturing the scene. It felt so public. I didn't care. I just turned around, walked away from the door, and sat down. A part of me wanted to open the door. I'm not going to lie about that. A part of me wanted to hear her out, to believe that it was all just some mistake, or a joke, or that the alcohol had gotten to her, and she didn't really mean it. But then I reminded myself of what I had heard. I couldn't ignore that. She meant it. She eventually left. I knew I couldn't go back, and if I did, I'd just be fooling myself. But that didn't make it any easier. She didn't stop trying, though. Over the next few days, she bombarded me with messages. She started pleading. She called me. Then she FaceTimed me. Then came the emails, the DMs, everything she could throw at me to get me to answer. Her friends started texting me, too. Even her mom called me. She was asking if everything was all right, why I was suddenly cutting her off, and why I hadn't answered Kayla's messages. Everyone was trying to fix things, to get me to open up, to give Kayla a chance to explain. But I knew better. I knew what the truth was, and there was no going back. All right, let me share with you some hard truths I've learned from this entire experience. You see, when you're in a relationship, you can't just look at how someone treats you when they're trying to impress you, or when they're in front of other people. That's easy. What really matters is how they speak about you when they think you're not listening, when they think you're not watching. That's when you get to see the real them, the one that's not trying to put on a mask, the one who's not worried about keeping up appearances. If I hadn't been watching Kayla that night, I would have been fooled into thinking everything was fine. But that moment? That was the truth. And let me tell you, the truth doesn't always come from a fight or a big blow-up. Sometimes, it just comes when someone feels safe enough to drop their guard and tell you exactly how they feel when they think you're not paying attention. Next up, loyalty. A lot of people think loyalty is just about not cheating. And sure, that's part of it. But there's so much more to it than that. Loyalty is about respect. It's about treating your partner with the same care and consideration you'd give to your best friend or even yourself. I learned the hard way that if respect isn't there, then loyalty doesn't really mean much. If your partner can laugh at your expense, even as a joke, then that's not loyalty. That's a lack of respect. And no amount of I love you or I didn't mean it like that is going to make up for it. Now let's talk about things that I learned. Convenience is not commitment. Just because someone is around all the time doesn't mean they value you. It doesn't mean they're in it for the long haul. Kayla being in my life every day, being my fiancée, it wasn't enough. It turns out it was just convenience. If you ever find yourself in a relationship where you feel like you're just a backup plan or someone who's there for convenience, don't ignore those feelings. It's easy to get comfortable, but comfort isn't love. Love is sacrifice. Love is commitment. Convenience is just being there when it suits you. Finally, the one that's hardest to swallow, disrespect. These were things I never understood fully until now. It wasn't a slip-up. It wasn't a moment of weakness. That was her telling the truth. Maybe not in the way she intended, but it was the truth. And disrespect, even if it's disguised as a joke, tells you exactly where you stand. It's a hard pill to swallow, but it's the truth. Pay attention to the casual things people say, because they're often more honest than they realize. Now let me ask you, if this happened to you, what would you do? Would you walk away quietly, like I did? Or would you take a different route? Would you go the revenge route? Maybe get back at her for the way she treated you? Honestly, I had a lot of options, but I decided to walk away. I decided to let the situation speak for itself. Sometimes, the best thing you can do when someone disrespects you is to show them you know your worth. You don't have to prove anything to anyone, especially not someone who doesn't value you. I want to hear from you. How would you have handled it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to know what you think. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.